The other day, we had some breaking news come out that the New York Rangers were officially firing head coach Peter Laviolette, and he would be relieved of his duties. And with that being said, of course, this Rangers team is now in need of hiring a new head coach to lead this franchise to hopefully a Stanley Cup for the first time in about nearly 30 years. So we're going to take a look at 12 different coaching candidates that could possibly, make sense for this team to potentially hire there. And, all of these candidates aren't perfect guys, but these are just some of the candidates that have been listed. 8 of them from Vince Mercogliano, a New York Rangers reporter, as well as 4 that, I've kind of found that could potentially be, candidates in the mix there for this Rangers coaching job as well. So let's get right into it here. And we will start off here with Vince Mercogliano's list, where he has as the first candidate David Carle, who is by far the kind of youngest guy that could potentially be available for the Rangers. He is only 35 years old, does not turn 36 until November, so very, very young for a potential NHL head coach, but this is a kind of rising, star prospect, you could say, on the kind of coaching side of things there. He's like the Gavin McKenna of coaches, I guess, possibly like the Bedard over the last couple of years, you could say, I guess. He is, one of those kind of rising prospects, you could say, coaching-wise, and this is someone who won the national championship last season with the University of Denver, made it to the finals this year where they lost, but over his 7 years of coaching and being the head coach at the University of Denver, he has had one single season below a win percentage of .646. So his first year as head coach had a win percentage of .646. His worst year was his third season there with a .438, and that was only 24 games played throughout one of the COVID years, I believe. So overall, he has been a very, very dominant coach, and the last 4 years at the college level has had a win percentage of at least .716. Obviously won the national championship last season and made it to the finals once again where they lost this season. So he's a winning coach. He's proven it for quite some time now. Was the assistant coach for 8 years back in 2008, 2009 up until 2017-18. Had one season there in 13-14 when he was the assistant coach of the USHL team Green Bay Gamblers. But other than that, he's been with the University of Denver, former NHL draft pick as well in the late rounds there. Brother as well, Matt Carle was a longtime NHLer. So he's got that bloodline there. Unfortunately had some injuries that kind of held him back, I believe, in his pro career, but coaching-wise is definitely looking like a very promising coach and could potentially be the next guy for the Rangers. Next up here, we have Jay Leech, who is also a former draft pick in the 5th round back in the 1998 draft by the Phoenix Coyotes. He is still only 45 years old as well, so not too old there for a coach by any means. Had 4 years at Providence College there, had a nice long pro career, played 70 games in the NHL, only getting 3 points as a defenseman, represented Team USA in the World Juniors back in 98 as well, but for the past 4 seasons has been an assistant coach in the NHL. This past season with the Bruins, the 3 before that with the Seattle Kraken, and then before that, he was a 4-year head coach of the Providence Bruins there. So has some experience as a head coach in the AHL, was also an assistant coach for a couple years down there. So has quite a few years, all the way from 2015 up until 2025 this year of being, a coach in the NHL or at least the AHL. So has been a coach for about a decade now in pro hockey in the AHL or NHL. Definitely a guy with some experience and could be a potential candidate for the Rangers. Next up here, we've got Michael Pekka, who has been an assistant coach under Laviolette for the past 2 seasons, and him and Dan Muse, who were both assistants, have the opportunity. I saw he was reported to kind of interview back with the team, so I would imagine they have opportunities to kind of once again kind of regain their kind of assistant roles, and I can't imagine either of them would take that step up to head coaching, at least quite yet, but coming back as assistant coaches definitely seems possible. Next up here, though, we have Joel Quenneville, who's also listed on Vince Mercogliano's kind of candidates list here, and personally, although Joel Quenneville definitely seems like coaching-wise, hockey-wise, I'm talking about a good coach. There's obviously that Kyle Beach situation there and a lot of other things kind of, behind the scenes that I'm not going to get too deep into. If you want to look that stuff up, you can. But obviously, Joel Quenneville, maybe looking to get a new coaching job in the NHL, but I just don't think it's going to happen if it does happen with the New York Rangers. Next up here, we've got Mike Sullivan, who unfortunately is a candidate who I just don't see being a realistic target, with him already being, under contract, for next season with the Penguins, and him already having said that he intends to coach the Penguins next season as well. To me, it is just not going to happen there with Mike Sullivan, more than likely returning back to the Penguins for next season. Next up here, we have Rick Tocchet, who is a very experienced player and, a pretty experienced coach as well. This is someone who had over 1,100 games played in the NHL, had 952 points, was a very good player back in his day, former 6th-round pick, but ended up being a phenomenal player for many, many years for the Flyers, Penguins, Kings, Bruins, Caps. Coyotes. I mean, he was all over the place for a while there, but ended up being a assistant coach there back in 2002, 2003 when he started his coaching career with the Colorado Avalanche, and then became a head coach for the first time in 2008, 2009. Had back-to-back seasons there being the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning and did not make playoffs either season. Then was a head coach once again after having 3 years in a row there of being the Penguins assistant. Had the head coaching job of the Arizona Coyotes for 4 years in a row there from 2017 to 2021, where they only made the playoffs one time and was a first-round exit. And then the last 3 seasons now, he has been the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, where he had his first year there, didn't make the playoffs. His second year there, lost in round 2, of course, had a pretty good year there with Vancouver last season there. I think they overperformed, and he was definitely, a part of that. And then this season obviously ended up getting fired after not having the best overall seasons. Next up here, we have John Tortorella, who is also a part of Vince Mercogliano's list. And I'm going to be honest, I just don't see it kind of happening. I just don't see him kind of returning to the Rangers. I could be wrong, but personally, I don't think that's kind of the coach we need to see on this team, and I just don't think he's going to come back here either. I just don't think that is going to happen, in my opinion. But definitely, if you think I'm wrong, comment that down below. And the last candidate on Vince Mercogliano's list before we take a look at 4 candidates that I kind of found. And here we have Jay Woodcroft, who is a pretty interesting coach there, has been involved in the kind of NHL/AHL coaching game for quite some time now, was a long-time assistant coach from 2008 all the way up to 2018 with the San Jose Sharks and Edmonton Oilers. Then had 4 years from 2018 to 2022 there, 4 years in a row of being the head coach of the AHL team for the Oilers there, being the Bakersfield Condors, where he ended up losing in his first year in round 2, and in his third year won the AHL, Calder Cup down there, won the championship, which that's pretty great to see. And in that final season there back in 2021, 2022, his 4th and final season being the head coach of the Bakersfield Condors, he did end up leaving that team after 34 games played, where they did have a .632 win percentage, as he jumped up to the NHL to be their head coach, and he ended up doing a phenomenal job there. Had 38 games played to finish that season, the regular season there, had a .724 win percentage, and also lost in round 3 there, so made it all the way to the conference finals, which is not bad at all for a coach, in his first season there with the team. So I think he did pretty good there. His second season there with the Oilers back in 2022-23, lost in round 2, and then obviously last season there ended up just being fired after 13 games after a 3-9-1 start. So overall, not a bad coach there, and could possibly be a decent candidate. Next up here, we've got Dan Bylsma, who was a former Stanley Cup champion as an NHL head coach back in 2008, 2009, in his first season as a head coach in the NHL with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then had a lot of success there with that team, obviously losing in round 2, then round 1, then round 1, then round 3, then round 2. So had quite a bit of success there. Then was the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres for a few seasons there back in 2015 and 2017. Obviously, didn't have the greatest teams there with Buffalo. Then had 3 seasons as assistant coach with the Red Wings. This season obviously got fired by the Kraken after just 1 season as their coach, but the 2 previous seasons before this past one ended up being a AHL finalist in back-to-back seasons there. So lost in the finals in back-to-back years before this season happened. So obviously a pretty decent coach there, has had some good success, making the AHL finals twice in back-to-back seasons there after having back-to-back .715 win percentages as well. He has had some good, kind of runs in the playoffs, also won a cup as a head coach in the NHL, obviously with a very good Penguins team, but still, this has been a very experienced coach who's gotten the job done at moments, so I think would not be a terrible candidate for this team. Next up is Bruce Boudreau, who is a very experienced head coach, but I'm just going to be honest, I don't necessarily think is going to be a real candidate for this team. I think if they go in a direction of a more veteran coach, there is kind of better candidates out there, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. But he is a name that could possibly get thrown around up there in rumors/reports. Next up here, we have a very interesting candidate named Todd Nelson. He has been a coach for quite some time now, was an NHL draft pick back in '89, but this is someone who has coached in the UHL as a head coach. He has been an assistant coach in the EHL. He's also been a head coach for quite some time in the AHL, has been an NHL assistant for quite some time, and also had half a season back in 2014-2015 as a head coach of the Oilers. So this is someone who's also won back-to-back UHL championships as a head coach back in 2003-2004 when he was with the Muskegon Fury, then ended up having some great success during the playoffs just over various kind of seasons there in the AHL as a head coach, but also has won 3 Calder Cups in the AHL, one with the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Detroit Red Wings, farm team there, back in 2016-2017, and also won the Calder Cup in back-to-back years in 2022, 2023, and 2023-2024 with the Hershey Bears, who is the Washington Capitals farm team, who is still coaching as a head coach right now this season, but is obviously a guy who could potentially end up getting that jump to the NHL. And with the Capitals, definitely not looking for a new head coach, as they have Spencer Carberry, a young and kind of rising head coach who's doing a phenomenal job with them. This is a guy who could obviously potentially get a head coaching job with a different team, and the Rangers definitely should be looking at this guy as a potential candidate, and I would definitely like to see them interview him, as he is someone who has a ton of experience as a winning head coach in various different levels. It could be the right guy for the job. Next up here, we've got Jeff Halpern, who is a 48-year-old coaching candidate, was an undrafted guy, but ended up having almost 1,000 games played in the NHL, had 976 games played in the NHL, 373 points as a centerman, and also played a little bit with the Rangers there back in 2012, 2013, had 30 games played, 1 point with the Rangers there. So, play with the Rangers obviously has had a pretty tenured NHL career, though. Was a 4-year guy at Princeton University playing hockey there, so pretty smart guy, I would imagine. Also played a couple years over in Europe as well, playing some pro hockey. But he began his coaching career back in 2016, 2017 with the Syracuse Crunch, where he was an assistant coach for back-to-back seasons there. And then in 2018, 2019, up until now, has been an assistant coach with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the NHL, where he's obviously done I'd imagine, pretty good job there if he's been on that staff for quite some time. Learning under a guy like John Cooper as well is something that I find very kind of exciting if he were to become that next potential head coach of the Rangers, as I'm a massive fan of John Cooper. I think he is truly one of, if not the kind of best coaches in all of hockey right now. You take a look at kind of what he's able to do with Team Canada as well. I think obviously, yes, Canada squad stacked, but he is still a very good head coach there. And I think this is someone who getting to learn under a guy like Cooper could definitely be a very good thing for a potential, first-time head coach. So this is someone who I think if the Rangers are going to go in a direction where they want to kind of get a kind of first-time NHL head coach guy, if it's not going to be David Carle, it would be Jeff Halpern, in my opinion, for my kind of thoughts. I think that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I think both those guys would be pretty good candidates there if they do want to go in a bit of a younger direction with guys who are a bit less experienced than obviously someone like a Gerard Gallant or Peter Laviolette, who the Rangers have gone with over the last couple tries. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on the New York Rangers kind of search for the next head coach. Who do you want to see in kind of out of these candidates? Who do you like? Who do you hate? And in general, do you want to see a younger kind of guy with a new kind of fresher mindset possibly? Or do you want to see that kind of veteran guy like Gerard Gallant or Laviolette, who we've already seen kind of, have a go with this team over the last couple tries? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.